What's up, everyone? Also, the Red Rounds Gaming. We got some tinfoil hats. Am I going to be proven wrong? More likely than not. But anyway, Leaf Lightning's about to pop up. So we're going to talk about next elemental or lightning attack action card. Gains +3, and if it's fused, it gains good. This gives the action point where to go again. But anyway, there's a lot of theories as to what that fuse could be. I'm gonna take my guess. They're probably going with a DVC route back in the Logic Blue era when Chunks had the fuse. However, it was a temporary one. Then, of course, you had access to Vegeta and Goku, the last fight. Then they separated and they suggested a big spirit bomb the size of Mars or any planet for that matter. I mean, it was a huge spirit bomb that they unleashed on Logic back in those days. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and write on this board right here that you're seeing on the screen, and I'm gonna give you my thoughts on as to what I think it could possibly be. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give an idea as to what I think might be the fuse mechanic on options. Now, you got attack action cards, non-attack action cards, and the equipment, fancy name, Vessels of Elements, similar to how Vessels Soul is why we'll say this is for the elements. But hopefully, option number one, you get a card that gets a bonus from being fused. And it might lead over to here simply because if you need equipment, it might be that route. Now, option number two would be a card as fuse, mechanic, and bonus. Now, if that is the case, that's even better. However, we might just get blown out of the water and say this has A, L, and a comp. Might be that route too as well. Two. Now, has an L and a common. And of course, we could see all three of this being implemented as mechanic for unique cards, because if you remember Bolton, he has stuff like Valiant Thrust, which does not have charge, but it gets a bonus from being charged when a card has been charged this turn, which could lead to right here. We're going to say that lightning strike, something like that. Or now, what do I think the fuse mechanic could be potentially? I think it could be very similar to how charge works. We'll say that you play a card, you declare a charge, and you reveal the card that you're going to charge. However, you place it directly underneath the card that you declared it. And you leave it there for judging purposes, because if it ever leaves, the judge gets called over or stuff like that, then they'll say it's not charged because it's not directly underneath the card. Stuff like that. That is something I could definitely see happening, very much so. And similar to how charge goes to soul, you could put it directly underneath the card so that way they know. However, this would probably introduce a new rule preventing people from creating space on the field for stuff such as other stuff, because that might create some confusion maybe, I don't know. But also, this equipment vessels out pay 0 or 1 or 2 resources to fuse cards. Now, I don't know what the cost would be, but might be 0, highly likely 1. Maybe 2 if the effect is powerful enough on the legendary. And this could have a legendary, and a common. Now, that's what I'm hoping on both sides, that there is a whole bunch of versatility when it comes to that. But anyway, let's move on to the next one. All right, on to part 2 of this 10 Hat Tales of Aria episode. We're going to go over and discuss the various good points of what was spoiled. Parts number 2 and 3 is going to be revealed right there. And there's my opinion. Shiver has the instant ability to put an arrow into an arsenal. Now, this is really particularly important. In particular, if you manage to have, like, for example, Blood Drop Brigade for your budget players, or Fianda Spring Tunic, or even a single red pitch in your hand. So that way you're not wasting resources on the opponent's turn. This says instant, which means after an opponent plays a card, if you know they're not going to be playing CNC, you can put an arrow into your arsenal. Well, yes, you will use the dominate or the +1, because it's a once per turn action, instant. But you have a way to be able to put multiple arrows into your arsenal. And this gets more particularly interesting when you involve cards such as Free of a Kind. Because you have access to Shiver on your opponent's turn, Shiver on your turn, and Bullseye Bracers as well. Now all of a sudden, while under effects, now if you were to put Poison the Tips into that combination right before you play Free of a Kind, which only allows you to play cards out of Arsenal, then all of a sudden you're cooking with gas. And of course, this all depends on what you got for your equipment slot or how your deck is built. Like if you want to play a bunch of Sikkim shots that has built-in go-in, go ahead. But you can get some really powerful burst turns in conjunction, even with Perch Grapplers, if you set it up well enough. That right there can be even powerful, so simply for giving all your arrows go again. So for the cost of 3, you could definitely do some nasty things on your opponent's turn. Having Poison the Tips on top of on-hit effects that's already built into most arrows, other than Sikkim Shot that has go again. But yeah, that's definitely powerful. Secondly, has From the Hand Dominator. This is no Azalea ability. The fact that you don't have to dedicate resources towards even looking at the top card of your deck or even knowing what it is. The ability to get an arrow card from your hand dominate is definitely powerful. No doubt about that. But while this can be a little bit wearing about the +1, be on the lookout for arrows that have dominate built into them without the shiver effect, or restrict defensive actions for the +1 power buff. This can be very key, and we've already seen in Blitz how impactful Ira's ability to turn a CNC from 6 to 7. That means they can't play defensive actions, and that can force one more card, and it depends on what kind of on-hit effect you can get out of that. There's no doubt about that. Especially even in conjunction with, I don't know, but I am really hoping to see Free of a Kind see some more play while on top of Poison the Tips style builds. Because I know Poison the Tips, it forces Warrior or any other deck that wants to have a 3 or more card hand. I mean, I know Guardian wants to have a 3 or more card hand in order to launch powerful attacks. Otherwise, it's becoming a no-frills for either 4 or 6. But forcing cards out of the opponent's hand with Poison the Tips would definitely make the meta much more interesting. No doubt about that. And it's definitely going to get me to react if a deck like this starts popping out with Poison the Tips. I'm going to have to be very wary about it, especially with my almost foiled out Grimpy Iron Song deck. But anyway, we're going to move on to Lexi has the ability to help arrows go wide in certain builds. This is, well, only for lightning style arrows, for that matter, because her weapon's a bow, and that requires an arrow to be able to play with that. But lightning style, this is going to be rather interesting what they put in Tales of Aria, what they can do, and not knowing also what's going to happen with the fuse mechanic. But I would have to say Lexi's hero effect of give and go again. It is kind of a rather interesting. And well, basically, I watched the roundtable of Wraith. I'll be sure to leave a link in the description below. The Azalea deck managed to top 8 of Road to Nationals. And he said, what you're really concerned is just blocking for 2 most of the time and, putting out an arrow. You're not worried about dominating the arrow. And I could definitely say certain play styles are going to abuse. If you really want to take full advantage of Lexi's ability, you're probably going to have to take quite a few damage in certain matchups. Well, I will basically say I don't think people should really build around Lexi's hero ability, but it should be rather interesting where it's going to go. Now, we're done with the card segment part, but I'm going to go ahead and go into a bit of lore. We're going to go ahead and, well, if you look at the back of the card, you will notice on the lower left-hand corner, you'll find a demonic figure, but you will also notice that there is a bit of a spiral tin glass. Now, I already looked into Viscerai's story when he was in the Demonaz story right before Monarch released. Well, I could definitely tell you there was no logo whatsoever. I scoured the Fab TCG website, and I have an interesting theory as to what the lower left corner is and why it might tie in with Tales of Aria. But anyway, let's get to that. Alright, now on to lore theories. We're gonna go ahead and have a look at this one in particular. Legend states that the oldest tree in every forest has a door hidden beneath its roots, leading to another realm. Those who entered through this door are often lost to the passage of time, emerging years later with no memory of what they saw on the other side. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next scene, and I'll see you there. Alright, I'd like to show you a card really up front and close. If you look right there, on the bottom left of the card, you will notice there are spiral glasses. Stained glass similar to churches around the world, but however, it's also on the Tales of Aria box, but you may have noticed there's a demon right there. Now, I went and searched the Demonaz story stuff, all of Viscerai's stories. I mean, there was definitely stained glasses in the Demonaz story, but none of them had any logos whatsoever that involved on this. Now, I could be totally wrong, and this is just more lore for our future set. However, I'd like to bring to your attention this foil first edition blood tribute. The card says, with the blood of the ancients, all of humanity shall be reborn. Ursabet. Now, let's have a look. You may have noticed she's very much covered in blood. Now, I don't know what kind of blood that is, but my theory here is that Ursabet is probably, I don't think they mentioned it, but I think Ursabet is going through a bit of a transformation drinking that blood, probably turning into a demon. She might just be the very thing on the bottom left corner on the back of every Flesh and Blood card. Now, I don't know if this is going to be in Tales of Aria, where she's popping out of those dimensions, the tree that I was mentioning. Because if we do recall, there's cards in Monarch that says Tremor of Irathiel, and that was causing portals to pop up on Wraith, for that matter. But who's to say that couldn't cause some ruptures into the portals that are leading to different realms that are connected to Tales of Aria? That's where I think it gets really much more interesting, because there is a whole bunch of stuff. And not only that, she is also appearing on Shadow Runeblade cards. And even I do believe she was in Dread Triptych and Crucible War as well. I believe she's popping up in that too as well. But I think you might see a particular scenario where she's actually a Shadow Runeblade, but she's probably turning into a demon, maybe. But my guess here is with her and Shane, she could potentially travel the Ifue dimensions, because Shane's really good at that, as you can tell with trans-dimensional crossways, I believe is the card name. I'm probably butchered it. I don't know. The yellow pitch one that deals arcane damage for each time you cast a attack action. I mean, play an attack action or play a non-attack action per turn, and that gets really, really interesting. No doubt about that. But anyway, leave me a comment on the below what you think. What kind of potential theories you think could be for the lore side? What could potentially happen? Anyway, Mossler out with Rim Rounds Gaming. Have a good day.